All right, thank you for attending today. Good day. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave your comments below. I'll try to answer all of them and like and subscribe. All right, so I'm Christian Pascal from Wolfram Research South America. I'm Director of Connectivity at Wolfram Research. I'm at Wolfram Blockchain Labs. And today we're going to talk about NFTs. So I usually write a lot of code during my presentations, but I figured that for this presentation, I don't want to go into too many technical details and just focus on the concepts. We actually have a workshop tomorrow to do to code a lot, to do NFTs, and so check compatible for that. So yeah, I even know my dad is in the audience today, and he's not super familiar with cryptocurrencies, blockchains, and all that. So I assume another attendees are in the same position. So I hope I can communicate some new ideas to you. So yeah, I'll start with the formal definition of what an NFT is. So an NFT is a non-fungible token. That may not mean anything to you right now, but we'll explore these terms during this talk, and hopefully I'll be able to, you will be able to grasp the main ideas, the concepts around these by the end of my presentation. So let's start talking first about something different. I want to talk about languages. So who owns a language? Like as in, who owns the English language or the Spanish language? Who is in charge of developing the language? Even when there are some quote unquote official institutions behind the formal rules of languages, in practice, what happens is that the community of speakers shape the language. We can say that the community owns the language in some way, actually in a decentralized way, because we all learn languages independently. And if a speaker dies, the language doesn't die because it's being replicated by the rest of the speakers. And the speakers come up with new words and meanings and memes in the more most general concept of meme. And that changed how we communicate and how we give value to the words. So the same thing happens with decentralized technologies such as blockchain, which is the technology behind cryptocurrencies and NFTs. So in general, the philosophical foundation of these technologies is that there's no central entity controlling the technology. So in a language, you have a decentralized network of speakers. In blockchain, you have a decentralized network of computers talking to each other. And those computers belong to people, to anyone who wants to be part of the network in the same way as anyone who decides to become part of the community of speakers. Let me increase the zoom here a little bit. All right, so what do computers communicate to each other in blockchains? So computers in blockchains communicate pieces of structured data, of information, and we as humans assign value to that information. So for example, we can see here, so we can see here a piece of information from the Bitcoin blockchain. So it basically has information about who owns the Bitcoins, and this information lives in all the computers that are part of the Bitcoin blockchain. And if one computer breaks down, the network is practically unaffected because there are hundreds or thousands of other computers. So yeah, so now let's talk about tokens and the abstraction of value. So we were talking about Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin is basically just a program. And that program has one single task, and that is to record and communicate who owns the different amounts of Bitcoins in the network. But in 2013, another blockchain was invented that extended the capabilities of communication and representation of value. This is the Ethereum network. And what they did was to expand that single task of Bitcoin to a more general purpose. They introduced the idea of smart contracts. That smart contracts are basically programs that can do anything you want if you write the code for that. And those programs run in all the computers of the Ethereum network. And with that came the idea of tokens. So just as cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin represent value, we usually give value to these cryptocurrencies in the form of fiat currency, like as their price in US dollars or any other currency, commonly motivated by the speculation, but there are other more purist philosophies around that. So tokens are also pieces of data in the blockchain that represent value, but in a higher abstraction level. So let's see some tokens in the Ethereum network. Let's see. All right. So what you can see here are the names of different tokens, and there are special types of tokens. But basically, tokens are smart contracts, and their smart contracts are programs. So basically, you are seeing the names of programs here. And yeah, so there are different types of tokens, many different types. But for example, there are some things called utility tokens. A utility token means that you can do something with that token. Let's think of, for example, a Tesla car token. Tesla car utility token, if you have that token allows you to drive a Tesla car for, I don't know, 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever. Or there are asset tokens. Using the same example of the Tesla car token. If you have some Tesla car tokens, that means you own a Tesla car or a fraction of that. So that's one cool thing. You can create fractions of value with tokens. So for example, let's see this one. So you see here, this one, Golem network token. So let's see some information about that. So the Golem network is a cloud computing distributed network, something like Amazon Web Services, but instead of being controlled by one single entity as Amazon, it has a decentralized nature. So thinking about Amazon Web Services, like if you want to use their cloud computing service, you pay some amount of money depending on the amount of time or computing or computational power you're going to use. In the case of Golem Network, you pay that you pay the network with their tokens. So this is a utility token that allows you to use their computing power. I don't know the price of the Golem network, but let's say you need 1,000 Golem tokens to use 1 hour of computational time of the network. But this is a fungible token. And fungible means that all Golem tokens are the same, just as 2 $1 bills are the same. And we can see here all the amount of tokens available of this Golem token network. Yeah, so you can represent anything with tokens. Let's say you are an engineer or an architect. You could tokenize your work, your value, so people who owns your tokens have access to your consulting services. So they act as some sort of currency, in this case, a fungible currency. So with that in mind, let's explore the idea of non-fungible tokens. So let's go back to 2014. So back then, there was Jennifer and Kevin McCoy, who are a pair of digital artists who partnered with Anil Dash, who was a developer for the 7-on-7 conference in New York City, where the idea was to connect artists with technologies. So these guys came up with the idea of developing a way to certify the ownership of a digital artwork using blockchain. And they use a chain called Namecoin. And they register a video Jennifer produced to finish the prototype. The developer Anil Dash bought that for $4, I think he had in his wallet. So let's actually see. Let's connect to Twitter here. So actually, this is the second video they made, but the first one is something something like this. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of the video they made for their first NFT. And all right, so but what basically happened here is that they added to the blockchain a representation of the ownership of a piece of art, and a human paid for that. And blockchains are basically immutable databases. So that means the data there will exist forever and no one can change or tamper with that record. So that's how blockchains work in principle. They had a problem though, and that was how to store the actual video there. So you can't store that much data on blockchains because it's very expensive. Blockchains are not designed to store that much data. So what they did was to store just a link to the video, and keep that in mind. So it's a summary. The prototype was recording the ownership of a piece of art, this video, on a blockchain, and that piece of data had a link to the actual artwork. All right, so let's move forward in time to 17. So in that year, these guys from Larva Labs came up with this project called the CryptoPunks. So they made 10,000 different characters like the ones you see here. And each of them is unique. They may share some traits as, I don't know, some have same skin color, or some have glasses, some have a pipe, whatever. But you can't find two CryptoPunks that share all attributes. And they thought of making a token for each CryptoPunk. However, tokens used back then were fungible, as the one we were seeing before. So they came up with a way to tokenize uniqueness of these CryptoPunks. So remember, I told you smart contracts. Tokens are smart contracts, and smart contracts are programs. So what they did was write a program that was coded to represent a unique thing as these CryptoPunks. So this program can do many things, like not only track who owns the token, but many other things, like we can see here, for example, this CryptoPunk. So this CryptoPunk was created on this date. And you can see, this is like when you open your bank account and see all the different transactions. Like, for example, we can see here that last time someone paid money for this was on March. Someone paid $7.5 million for this CryptoPunk. And it's actually on sale for more than $120 million. Go figure. Yeah, and people actually are offering like more than $100 million for this. So yeah, this is all registered in the blockchain. So let's see this from. So in the same way as when you send a transaction with your bank, you have an ID, and things in blockchain are also represented by this kind of ID. So don't worry too much about these details. Let's see that the date here is the same. We can see on the website. I just show you, but I want to show you the the transaction, basically the operation that created these CryptoPunks. Again, don't focus too much on these details that may not mean nothing to you. But what you can see here is that this operation in the blockchain created multiple tokens, these CryptoPunks. And remember the problem they had with the first NFT, that thing about the storing just a link to the video. So what these guys did here was just storing the ID of each CryptoPunk with these transactions. So there are 10,000 CryptoPunks, and each CryptoPunk has a number. So I'm basically decoding the data here. And what you see are the ID of the CryptoPunks created in its operation. So the smart contract behind these tokens can track each ID independently, even when they are created at the same time. So the only thing that links the record of this in the blockchain, that is the NFT, to the CryptoPunk character is just an ID. So if we go, let's say 3061, so we go 3061. Yeah, we have to go to this website to actually see these CryptoPunks and the attributes and all that. So all this information about the CryptoPunk is actually centralized. And people who are paying millions of dollars for these things are actually just owning a number here. So anyway, so this token, the one representing the CryptoPunks, has a different structure than the ones we saw before. That means the program, this smart contract that is behind this CryptoPunk, is coded in a different way that makes each of these CryptoPunks unique. The way of coding that program is what became standard. It's called the ERC 721 standard. And from this point in history, people started to use this the program they wrote as a template to create more unique tokens and polish this standard. And that is what became the non-fungible tokens on Ethereum. So let's see another token here. Whoops. Let's see here. All right, so this is another token called the CryptoKitties. So you see here the standard ERC 721. That means that these CryptoKitties, they are unique compared to the one we were seeing before. Where's this? Yeah, this Golem network. This is fungible. So all tokens are the same. And in the case of CryptoPunks or CryptoKitties, each token is unique. So again, these guys came up with another very interesting idea, and they made another project called the autoglyphs. So they figured that instead of storing a link to this artwork, they thought, what about if we store in the blockchain just very brief instructions on how to create these images, these pieces. So say if we get one of these, I'm extracting the data from the blockchain right now, from one of these random autoglyphs. So what you see here, this is actually stored on the blockchain. And basically each symbol represents something like draw a circle or draw a square or leave a blank space and whatnot. And so I actually made a program to read this data. And all right, let's see. Let's go back here. All right, so let's see. Let's take, I don't know. I like this one. All right, this is autoglyph number 18. So if I go to Wolfram language and run my function, this will create my own color version of this autoglyph. Why? Because my program already knows how to read these instructions and draw these things. So that was a very interesting idea on how to store data on blockchain for NFTs. So there are hundreds of blockchains, and part of our job at Wolfram is connecting to the Wolfram language to these blockchains. So let me show you another blockchain, and with different blockchains come different ways of doing things with NFTs. So let's explore what people do on the Tezos blockchain. So there's this what is called a marketplace. So a marketplace is a website where you can find, explore, buy, and sell NFTs, and it's like a digital gallery. All right, so let's connect to the Tezos blockchain. And so with this line of code, I can show you some of the NFTs I own in this blockchain. And also let me show you how they store data here. So here I'm downloading the metadata of one of the NFTs I created. And so what you can see here, this is actually a JSON file stored on chain. So it has some information about the NFT, like the name, some tags, the description, and whatnot. So what about the actual artwork? So in the same way as the first NFT, there's a link to the artwork here, but in this case, it's not pointing to a regular server to store the image, but it's using a decentralized storage system called the Interplanetary File System, also known as IPFS. And this is what you see here. And actually the Wolfram language is connected to IPFS. So I can run this line of code and hopefully download my piece of art. And let's see. Right, so this is a piece of art I created and minted as an NFT. This is actually data from the Bitcoin blockchain. I made a representation of a Bitcoin block, and I created an NFT of that on Tezos. So let me show you, for example, another project on Tezos. So this is, oops. So yeah, this is another marketplace also running on the Tezos blockchain. Oops, sorry. So here, you can see here NFTs I created. So for example, these ones here are on sale. These ones have been sold already. And remember, NFTs are programs, and programs can do anything. So in this particular case, the program is coded in a way that when someone buys my NFTs, I get paid in the Tezos cryptocurrency. And the program takes note of the new owner. However, if that person sells my NFT to another person, the program knows that I'm the creator of the NFT. So even when I don't own the NFT anymore, the program pays me royalties from that secondary sale. And every time that NFT is sold, I'll keep receiving money in the form of cryptocurrency. So think how powerful this idea is. So the program can be coded in Anyway, think of, for example, a music album. So many people work on making that possible. You have songwriters, sound engineers, PR people, distributors, and whatnot. But in real life, let's say I make the album cover for, I don't know, Ariana Grande or any other artist. So if Ariana sells 10 million copies of this album, I get nothing. They pay me to create the cover art and that's it. However, a tokenized version of that album could be coded in a way that I always get royalties of every album sold because I contribute to the art of that, to the cover art of that album. Or we can make that part of the money goes to charity, or let's not even talk about money. Let's say that every time an album is sold, the program runs, turns on a light bulb somewhere on the planet. So when all the albums are sold, you get a huge light installation that you can see from the space station. So yeah, possibilities are kind of endless. So are NFTs limited to just art? No, there are many things we can do with NFTs. So let me show you another blockchain, the Cardano blockchain. So for example, in this case, I'm going to get another NFT. So the NFTs on Cardano work differently, but let me show you this. So this is an NFT, also stored in IPFS. And this is this represents an educational certificate. This has nothing to do with art. And actually, we made a lot of similar certificates for our Wolfram Summer School this year. And so NFTs are currently being used for, let's say, video games, like, well, like some kind of trading cards, like here, where you can actually earn money for playing this game, or they are used for virtual real estate, and actually real estate. People are selling houses minted as NFTs. So think of the many things. Actually, we also have like kind of our own version of trading cards we did for the Cardano Summit. Yeah, so think of the many things we could represent with NFTs. Let's say I have a student who asks me to write a recommendation letter for her. I can think of a system where my recommendation letter is an NFT coded in a way that if my recommendation letter helps my student to get a job, I'll get a small part of her salary because I contributed to that. Or think of developers. If you are familiar with repositories such as GitHub, where all contributions made to the code are tracked by the system, imagine that each commit is an NFT, and the company you work for pays you according to your contribution to the software. Of course, this is an oversimplified approach because we know that a lot of code doesn't necessarily correlate to a lot of contribution, but I can imagine a smart system that uses, I don't know, machine learning or something to track the impact of the code of the developer on the product. So the developer gets compensated for that, even after the person leaves the company. We can think of how much data we give for free to companies like Facebook, Instagram, Google. Imagine having your data as NFT and having full control over that. So companies actually pay you to use your data, and you get paid every time that company, with your permission, uses your data to do other stuff. Think of NFT medical records. The information in blockchains is accessible anywhere in the world. So blockchains are public. Everything I show you here is public. So yeah, let's say you're in some random part of the world, you need medical assistance, and a physician could have access to your NFT medical records if you keep permissions. And those medical records are unique, are non-fungible, and could be tied to your digital identity, which can also be an NFT as well. And so this is an emerging technology. We can't predict how the future of NFTs will be like, but what we know is that they are changing the way how we think of value ownership. And the ones driving that change are the communities, regular people like you and me, who find this technology some hope to do something new and maybe change the world. So thank you. So before that, I wanted to, so I see that there are some questions here. And first I want to give a big thank to the live minting team. So So Billy, Chapin, John, Carla, Piero, they put a lot of effort on our NFT adventures. And also I'll leave this on Pathol. We did a nice live minting session that is on YouTube, where you can see how we created NFTs. And we also have a networking session tomorrow in our virtual space. I think tomorrow morning, Pacific time, Central time. So I can answer all the questions there. So we have the workshop, the networking session, and I'll take some questions that I see on Pathable right now. So is there a presentation notebook available? I'll add that to Pathable. What else? You're selling the representation fund artifact though. Can't you save the artifact out of band and do whatever you wanted with it? Yeah, I mean, you can come here and download this, and yeah, I can download this image to my computer. But so that's the kind of philosophical discussion. What do I own? Do I own the image, or do I own the representation of that image in the blockchain? So yeah. What else? Jesse, so what is your opinion on the value usefulness of private or centrally managed blockchains? They are probably useful maybe for when you want to standardize things between groups of companies, but centralizing these things kind of goes against the philosophy behind blockchains, but can be useful for these specific things where you want to share things within companies. Is the value of NFT determined by only by the value assigned by people? Yeah, basically, yeah. If people are willing to pay $100 million for these images because they think, well, usually because they think this will cost more in the future, like the CryptoPunk I show you, someone was offering $100 million for that CryptoPunk, and the owner is now selling that because he thinks it's more valuable. So Cody is also asking, what blockchain will you recommend when it comes to environmental impact? Well, people will hate me for this, but for now, definitely not Ethereum. So I will say take a look at Tezos or blockchain or Cardano, which has a proof of stake consensus protocol, and in the future, Ethereum will have that. Jack asks, any plans for Wolfram Group or Institute focused on experimental art? Well, we have the live minting effort, and we are doing these kind of things with Wolfram. So go to this website, register, and all that. Can you share your NFTs created on a different blockchain to another blockchain? You can, but people may think of that as kind of, they may lose value if you have like 2 copies in different blockchains. I mean, you can do it, but it may affect the value of that. So now we have another presentation by Piero, also showing blockchain stuff we do with Wolfram language. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and please join us for the workshop. We are going to do a lot of coding, and the network session tomorrow. Thank you so much.